Now, with 2024 coming to a close and there seemingly being no surprises for us left, we can officially say that after everything we have seen, Kendrick Lamar just had one of the most dominant years in not just hip-hop history, but in all of music, as from having 3 #1 songs on the Billboard Hot 100, to the greatest performance in a rap beef arguably ever, to then dropping one of the most significant bodies of work that rap has seen in years with his record GNX. If before 2024 you questioned anything about Kendrick Lamar and his greatness, he has more than shut down anything you could have held against him, and now with this year that Kendrick has been having, when you really put into perspective how dominant this moment in time has been for him beyond just numbers or making music so captivating and effective that it has changed other people's entire careers. What Kendrick Lamar accomplished this year in terms of the impact and effect it is now having on the entire landscape of rap music and what it will mean for the future is by far the most important year a single MC has ever had to the genre, because if you remember the state hip-hop was in just a year ago in 2023, the genre was in such bad hands and the bar of quality was so low that people thought that rap music was done for. But now before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And so with the state hip-hop was in, where every new artist was embarrassing what the word rapper even meant, and the trend-searching, wave-riding style of music that everyone was jumping on just had never come off more lazy, as rappers just straight up began releasing barely altered versions of previously released hit songs. Hip-hop was reaching a point where people like Jack Harlow and Ice Spice were about to become the best thing it had to offer. And due to the fact that hip-hop was being contorted into something so horrible, where it was just failing to connect with the people who made it the most dominant genre of music in the world for years in the first place. Ultimately, this all caused hip-hop sales to decline, which then started a trend where rap was about to lose its top spot in the music industry in no time. And even despite rap struggling so bad and there being hardly any good and significant music releases out, no one who was in control of the genre seemed to care that everything was going to ruin. And this complacency and mediocrity was not fueled more by anyone in this time than Drake, who kept the mediocre machine that was the state of hip-hop in 2023 going by releasing music that was so lazy and uninnovative, and also by uplifting artists who did nothing to push the culture forward and, if anything, only moved it backwards. Which overall, with everything Drake was doing on the global stage, just made hip-hop start to turn into a genre that was only superficial and dull and offered nothing else. And when you understand hip-hop history and know the aspects that this genre needs to thrive, requires to have music that you can both turn up to, but also more importantly, records that can challenge everything from the music industry as a whole to the way we think and perceive reality. All in all, with this slipping away, hip-hop was losing all of its defining traits, and it was being stuck with a 40-year-old man leading it who was getting more immature with each album he released at its center. And so because of this, and because of the precedent that was set, a lot of people thought that rap was doomed, and understanding that in 2024 for hip-hop, based on the way things would have went, hip-hop's downfall could have been solidified. Kendrick Lamar had the most important task a single MC has ever had, because in a genre where rappers either didn't care to make a change or were complacent in this erosion of hip-hop's very foundation as long as they were able to have their own individual success, Kendrick Lamar stood for something that nobody else wanted to, and right alongside the impact and consequences of what Kendrick Lamar was doing this year being more important than anything ever, Kendrick was able to uplift another one of hip-hop's most important aspects to a place that we have never seen, as when it comes to competition, A-Dot just set a new level on how dominant a rapper can be over their rivals in a back and forth, because of course, from his Like That verse to all of the other diss tracks he dropped, which we have now seen the impact of all of those. In retrospect, Kendrick went against the other two members of who have been deemed the big three in of course Drake and J. Cole, and with both of them, Kendrick humiliated their names to varying degrees. And I don't really think we've put into perspective yet just how mind-boggling it is that Kendrick Lamar was able to go against the other faces of his era, and against the people who he was compared to. And before this beef, most people in hip-hop media and in culture were saying that he was the worst of. Just make them look like absolute scrubs is unreal and something we will never see another rapper do. Because seriously, there has never been another rap beef between this level and magnitude of artists where we have seen a collapse from multiple rappers who were held in this high of regards just embarrass themselves, whether it was Cole by releasing a diss track on Kendrick and then apologizing for it, or in Drake's case by having one of the most laughable performances in a rap beef ever that is now costing him his entire career and legacy. And from the greatest performance in a rap beef ever, which has proved once and for all that there is no big three like Kendrick said, to even all the other after effects from this, from rappers sneak dissing Kendrick Lamar like Big Sean, 21 Savage, supposedly Lil Wayne, and maybe even 50 Cent, and when they were getting pushed into getting into a full-on beef with him as people were calling them out for what they said, instantly they all made it very clear that they do not want any problems with Kendrick, Overall, we have never seen hip-hop be more scared of a single MC ever, and due to all of this, no rapper has ever embodied the sheer idea of competition more than Kendrick Lamar, and because of how he showed up and ended careers and humiliated others, no matter what you want to say and how people try to cope with how he humiliated their favorite rapper, Kendrick has truly earned the title of rap's boogeyman. And now beyond the fate of what Kendrick's actions have been and how tactical he had to get to win over the control of the entire industry, what fleshes out Kendrick Lamar's 2024 as the greatest year we have ever seen from a rapper is the actual quality and integrity behind all of the music he is releasing, because at the core of everything he has done and what has allowed for him to be so successful as a whole has all come down to the fact that from the perspective of both lyrical skill and artistic vision, Kendrick is operating at a level that few others have ever been able to even come close to, because whether it was concepts like writing letters to Drake and his family members on Meet the Grams, or rapping from Drake's perspective on the beginning of 616 in LA, to even him being able to write the final verse of a track in Not Like Us just a few hours after Drake's diss Family Matters dropped. Overall, Kendrick showed that from every single category possible, his MCing skills are something that we have never seen before, both in terms of how quick and perfectly timed every moment he delivered was, and with the level of skill he was showing, which really, when you see how many layers and dynamics Kendrick writes with and through, you really only can place him amongst the very best lyricists to ever pick up a pen. But now, beyond what many are calling the greatest run of diss tracks we have ever seen from Kendrick, he was of course able to extend this success with his record G&X and show that even when not in a direct beef with another rapper, he can use this skill set to do so much more, from making some of the most creative and exciting hit rap songs the genre has seen in years, to also delivering some of the most mind-boggling storytelling cuts as well. And now when you actually try to put Kendrick's dominance into perspective this year, for me what really best broke it down is that when I was working on my lists for the best albums and songs of this year, which I wanted to release as its own video, when you don't make these lists like media publications who are trying to keep industry friendships and not make others feel away, so they only try to include one song per artist, Kendrick really just has an overwhelming amount of the best songs released this year, because just in my top 10 alone, in totality of the list, at number 10 I got Sticky by Tyler the Creator for being a banger that pushes how creative and fun a hit rap song can be as a whole. And then at number 9 I got 616 in LA. And at number 8 I got Schoolboy Q's song Blue Sides, which shout out to Schoolboy and TDE because they held it down this year as well, and this song just embodied how great the guys who came up around Kendrick still are, even all these years after coming up in the first place. And then at number 7 I got the most shocking song release of the year with Meet the Grams, and at number 6 I got the track that put so many people in their feelings with Whacked Out Murals. And rounding out the top 5 we have the absolute masterpiece of Reincarnated, and at number 4 we got Like Him by Tyler the Creator, and then in the top 3 I have Like That, Not Like Us, and then for my song of the year, I got the lyrical masterclass. And when we look back at this song in perspective of everything that happened, what I'm sure is going to be known as one of the greatest lyrical performances of all time in Euphoria. And now with this top 10, which 7 of these tracks have Kendrick Lamar on it, whether it's a feature, diss track, or song from G&X, alongside Schoolboy Q, who has shown just how great Top Dog Entertainment is as a label, and the 2 Tyler the Creator tracks, which both in terms of rappers expressing emotion and making ridiculously creative songs that can still be hits, just push the boundaries more than anything else not from Kendrick Lamar has. Overall, while also showing that the West Coast more than anybody else has won 2024 as a whole, this top 10 for me just put into perspective how much control Kendrick Lamar has had all over hip-hop this year, because really, all of these songs just offer something completely different to the genre and deliver all-time great performances while doing so. And now beyond just individual songs, when we look at full bodies of work, if somehow Kendrick Lamar's year couldn't get more dominant, in my top 10 albums of the year, you will further see not just how great Kendrick's run has been, but also how impactful the work he did against Drake was, because after Kendrick and Drake's back and forth, so many of the best lyricists on the planet just came back outside and released such profound bodies of work, which now in my top 10 albums, you will see at number 10 with Please Don't Cry by Rhapsody, which really is showing that beyond Kendrick Lamar's 2022 album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers having such a large impact in terms of making rappers more comfortable when it comes to exploring their own selves, they have a bigger stage to do so. And at number 9 we got You Only by Freddie Gibbs, which is a whole album filled with intensely produced lyrical deep cuts. And at number 8 I got Dark Times by Vince Staples, which is just another great album from the West Coast in their year of victory, where Vince just delivers such a powerful performance from start to finish. And at number 7 I have JPEG Mafia's latest album, which is a record that is so creative as it sounds like nothing else rap has ever heard. And in this number 6 spot, we got a record that, again, because of this reset and shift we saw after the Kendrick and Drake beef, has been able to get the recognition it deserves, and really has just created rap's next superstar with Doechie's debut mixtape. And in the top 5, I got Childish Gambino's Bando Stone and the New World, which was just an amazing send-off to one of the best hip-hop artists of the last decade, and really one of the most underrated bodies of work that came out this year as a whole, because it seriously did not get the recognition it deserved. And now in the top 4, which really with all of these albums, I think they will be considered classics in the future, we have Schoolboy Q's Blue Lips, which is a masterful LP that embodies everything you want in a great rap album and so much more, as it's coming from one of the most entertaining MCs that is on the mic today. And now in the number 3 spot, we got a record that changed the course of hip-hop as we know it, as it showed just how much of the genre is against Drake, and of course kicked off the greatest rap beef of all time in one of the most entertaining rap albums I've ever heard in Future and Metro Boomin's We Don't Trust You. And now in the top 2, we have 2 modern masterpieces that after everything we saw in hip-hop this year, both of these records served as vision statements to what hip-hop can look like when the art is being put first and rappers are trying to make impactful music more than anything else. And the fact that this project is an album of the year just really shows how good 2024 was in none other than Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia, which while I know I've praised before, his is just one of the best albums of the entire decade, and arguably Tyler's magnum opus because of how well it is able to blend together production that sounds like nothing else we have ever heard before, genius and personal storytelling, and overall so much emotion and passion throughout. And then in the number 1 spot, you may have guessed it, but we got Kendrick Lamar's GNX, and with this record, which is giving Kendrick another album of the year entry in his career, beyond all the narratives and hype that surrounded Kendrick this year because of the beef and how that went. This record stands on its own as a masterful experience that adds to Kendrick's catalog and the hip-hop world perfectly, as from its bangers to its deep cuts to some of the most conceptually brilliant songs that Kendrick has ever written and that the genre has ever received. This album just feels like a highlight reel of everything that makes Kendrick Lamar the best rapper on the planet with ease right now, and as throughout every single moment on this thing, Kendrick makes it so clear that from what he's saying to how he's saying it to even how he decided to sequence and pace this entire record, there has really not been an album in over a decade that has served as a statement to the rest of the genre, that is overall just showing that one MC is so much more dominant than the rest of the competition. And so with all of this, with Kendrick Lamar really saving the future of hip-hop by having what many would say is the greatest performance in a rap beef ever, and at that when the stakes have never been higher, and then him following this up with a record that takes everything he stood for and now turns it into the precedent and bar that rappers are going to need to try to come close to in order to have a successful career at the top. All in all, Kendrick Lamar has had a perfect year in every single sense of the word, and now of course with all of this, he is also by far the MVP of this year, and while it's really unanimously in his favor, if you are wondering, I think the other best rappers of the year were Tyler the Creator for releasing a masterwork in Chromacopia, and Future for helping bring back competition to hip-hop, and also dropping multiple great projects as well. But now with Kendrick Lamar's 2024, which in every single way possible is one of the best we have ever seen, when you compare 2024 Kendrick to all the other all-time great years from rappers, whether that's 03 50 Cent, 08 Wayne, 07 or even 2010 Ye, 02 Eminem, 98 DMX, 96 Pac, and so many others. And you realize with nearly all of those guys, they had those defining years very early into their careers, and aside from maybe Ye, those were the years that solidified them as the legends to the degree we regard them as today, and without those specific years, their place on the all-time list would be significantly lower. And for Kendrick Lamar, this is happening in year 12, and it's already following a career where he has already had 2 albums that are considered arguably the best rap project of all time, multiple others that are instant classics, and to winning awards that no one else ever has, to having moments that have never been able to be replicated by anybody else. All in all, with Kendrick Lamar coming around and adding what is, when you put into perspective, if not the best, one of the greatest years a rapper has ever had in year 12, on top of a resume that already had him in most people's top 10s, top 5s, or maybe even higher. It's overall, when you compare Kendrick to every other rapper who has been a part of this amazing genre called hip-hop, despite there being decades of greatness and competition, in this very moment, Kendrick Lamar is not just the best rapper right now, but I'd go as far to say he is the best rapper of all time. And so now with all of this said, let me know. This is obviously a big take that I'm throwing out, so let me know if you agree or at least understand where I'm coming from, and also let me know in the comments where 2024 Kendrick Lamar ranks amongst the best single-year rap runs of all time, and what were your favorite songs and moments from Kendrick this year, and just albums and songs in general as a whole that dropped in 2024 as well. Now, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, and if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now, if you want to see how closing out this all-time great year for Kendrick, he teamed up with SZA to call Drake out one more time for all the pathetic ways he has tried to change the reality of what we have just praised him for here, check out the suggested video.